Just let me know when you're
Yes.
ready.
Yes, Basse 2017, right?
2018, yes, 2017 and 2018.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm there.
Thanks. So the management letter states that it's for the period beginning 1st March 2017 to 31st December 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the matters contained in the report will be outside our scope. So where possible, if you could indicate this so that we have it on record.
No problem.
Thank you.
Maybe, would you like my explanation in there?
Further, sure.
Yes. Good morning once again, Lead Counsel and Commissioners.
Good morning.
This is the management letter for Basse Area Council for the period 1st March 2017 to 31st December 2018. Just as I've mentioned the last sittings, before councils were not presenting financial statements, so we don't audit them annually. Because financial statements were not there, so we only audit their transactions. So that's why you will see we don't audit as per year for the year ended. Instead, it's period ended because it's not based on a financial statement audit. So at times we will audit them 2 years arrears. We can go at any time of the year. So we'll just make sure that if we go, we will audit up to the last day. And then so that's why you are seeing 1st March 2017 to 31st December 2018. But from 2019, that has stopped now. They are audited annually, and then it's based on financial statement audit. Yeah. So the 2017 to mid-2018 was in the former regime. But as auditors, we are auditing the council. We are not so much particular whether it's the former regime, former administration. It's just to bring whatever is happening in the council for the stakeholders to know whether there is improvement. That will help them to know what has been happening, whether there is improvement, whether it's still, just to help for their decision making. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At paragraph 1.6 of the management letter, you have a general conclusion. Can you tell us about this?
Which page is that?
I'm not sure. It's not page annotated, but it's paragraph 1.6.
Okay, 1.6, right. I should be able to see that. 1.6.
At the beginning of the...
Okay, over there. 1.0. Oh, conclusion.
Yes.
These are just the audit methodologies. If you look at it, this is outside the it's just telling you the audit objective, the objective of the audit, the methodology we use, the scope, and then the conclusion at the end of the audit. The audit revealed overall lack of proper recording of some financial transactions, non-compliance with some relevant regulations, instance of inadequate supervision, and control by immediate supervisors. So this was just a summary of what happened during the audit for that period.
Okay. So I believe from paragraph 2.0, you have the detailed findings in respect of the audit that was done for that period.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and at 2.1, you have stated that only, I believe, 3 committees were set up and functioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that these committees were finance, development, and establishment.
Yeah.
And you had said that no reasons have been advanced for the status quo. However, we have noted a number of anomalies attributed to the non-functioning of subcommittees. The chairman stated that efforts are afoot to have the rest of the subcommittees functioning. We did not, however, have evidence to this effect. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes. this from the Act. According to the Local Government Act, there shall be a general council and related subcommittees to which responsibility will be delegated for oversight functions. And these include, but not limited to, audit, education, and finance committee. This will to ensure a proper monitoring mechanism over the executive, that's the CEO and the team. The CEO and the team are responsible for the day-to-day administration of the council. Then you have the councillors who are the oversight. And then the councillors also, there should be subcommittee, finance, education, agriculture, and the like. But during our review, we realized that there is a committee for finance, development, and establishment. The audit, education, and agriculture have been established, but they remain inactive. They just mention the names there, but there is no minute, no activity has been taken. So that's what we just highlighted. And no reason has been advanced for the status quo. However, we noted a number of anomalies attributed to the non-functioning of the subcommittees. The chairman stated that efforts are afoot to have the rest of the subcommittees functioning. We did not however, have evidence of this. These committees were, they are not finance, establishment, those ones were functioning, but the rest, the other committees were mentioned, but they are not active. So their response was, the subcommittee has already established by council, but they will be revived as indicated in your finding. So auditors further comment, we said the management response failed to indicate any course of action to be taken to address the problem. However, this will be reviewed as part of our subsequent follow-up audit. So that what happened. The committees were just there, but they are not active. And then according to their response, they will do something to make sure that they function well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Council, may I ask
Sure.
the witness a question? Mr. Sarawale, you did say that the three committees were the ones that were, you mentioned three committees that were functional. Mm-hmm. During the course of your investigation, mm-hmm.
Were
you availed any minutes of meetings that those committees have held over the period?
For now, I'm sure, if you can allow me, if there is no minutes for their commission, I know it will come as part of the observation. So I don't just want to play. If you want, I can go through the report again. But I know if the minutes were not there, it will be captured in this report.
Council, can you proceed?
Sure, thank you. I note that in the 2019, or rather in the audit for Bassa Area Council ending 2019, there was still an issue of committees that were not established even after the
yes. So that's why we say we will.
Yes, that is when it was confirmed. I believe you confirmed that there was less than 1 minute for meetings for the whole year for the committees.
Exactly. But the way we go about it, if you go, you say that, okay, there are committees that's supposed to be existing and they are not. So before you even talk of the minutes, you talk about, for them to be established first. So, because it's risk-based here. But I know minutes also will be captured somewhere. Yeah.
So it would appear that even though the issue was raised for the end of 2018 and the end of 2019, it was still not addressed.
Yes, I think you said according to the 2019. Yes, because I always want to refer myself to the report. So if I have to answer that, I will still go back to the report to confirm. Yeah.
This is according to 2019.
Yeah, then that's it. So that's the case.
All right. At paragraph 2.2, an issue of attendance and punctuality was raised. And I believe your assessment was that there is no apparent commitment to attendance and punctuality to work. There is a register in place for attendance, but there is no evidence to show that it is subjected to monitoring to ensure adherence. Mm-hmm. And in general, the staff of the council, and indeed some of the management staff, do not appear to be aware and or conversant with the requirements of the working documents applicable to them. Mm-hmm. Most processes and procedures appear to take place on ad hoc basis rather than in accordance with the prescribed provisions of the working documents. And you had set out implications and recommendations for this issue. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is about the control environment. Auditors is beyond just go and say payment voucher not here, revenue collected not bank. Auditing is beyond that. We look at the control environment, because the control environment matters a lot. If there is a weak control environment, it will have an impact on the general operation of the council. During our review, we realized that there is no apparent commitment to attendance and punctuality at work. There is a time book. You see a time book, staff come in, signing. Only few staff are in fact signing. And then during our discussion, there is no evidence that that book is been monitored to see whether people are even signing at the right time, or those who have not been, whether it has been monitored. That there is no evidence of that. So in general, the staff at the council, most of them, if you have that interaction with them, they don't even know their job descriptions. They can tell, and then maybe the documents, the policy document, they have no idea. Because some of them during the interview, you will just bring a particular document and say, according to this document, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And then the person will tell you, I'm not aware of this, or I have never set my eye on this document. So those are some of the reasons why we brought these findings. And then their response was, there is a register in place for attendance and punctuality to work. The management will improve the monitoring to ensure adherence. So that was their responsibilities. And then the auditors further comment, we said the memo referred to in the response, because they said action to be taken, they said memo was passed. And then auditors were like, the memo referred to in the response has not been shared with us for review, so therefore we could not verify that. When we come up with this query, they said they sent a memo to all the staff for punctuality and the signing board. That copy of that memo has not been submitted to us.
Okay, so you're unable to verify that it was actually done?
Yeah.
At paragraph 2.4, I believe it relates to what you have just spoken about. You have stated that there's a draft scheme of service for local government services which gives details of individual designations and responsibilities, but that the draft scheme of service is still a draft and you cannot place any reliance on it, but that it appeared that some of the staff did not possess the required qualifications for relevant positions. Are you able to recall what positions these were?
Yes, this was just a general review of the files, because if I am appointed as Director of Finance, for example, and then as auditors come and then said, Bakari doesn't have the competency to be appointed as Director of Finance. What is the benchmark? That can be very subjective. For you to say somebody is not competent, there should be a scheme of service guideline to say maybe the person to be the appointed Director of Finance must have this qualification, must have this experience, must have this. But if that is not there, and then how can I defend my point that Mr. So-and-so is not competent or is not qualified? So that's what we're trying to highlight here. We realize that you see people in positions, you go to their file, you don't see any qualification. You have some up to the position of head of units, head of departments. Maybe the only certificate you see is just the training here and there, they are all grade 12 certificates. But again, as auditors, we are constrained. Because if we want to say Mr. So-and-so doesn't have the qualification, what qualification? What's the yardstick, the benchmark for the person to hold that position? So there is a scheme of service, because the scheme of service will give the details of the individual designation, the responsibility, and then the required entry for that position. But that scheme of service was developed but was at the draft stage. So a document that was at draft stage, we cannot actually put reliance. So the reason why we brought it, so that the authority can know that this document is very relevant and they need to do something to make sure that it is finalized so that it can be used. So I think that's what we are trying to bring out here. Their response, they said the management and the relevant stakeholders will make sure that the draft scheme of service is approved in order for it to be binding. The auditors further comment, The situation remained the same as the draft scheme of service still remain unapproved. There is also no evidence provided to us that stakeholders have been engaged by the council regarding the approval of this scheme of service.
Okay.
Council, may I come in here? Thank you. Mr. Trawale, talking about the scheme of service, was looking into the issues of employment, was reference not drawn to the role of the Service Commission at the level of the ministry? Because I may say that you are guided by the regulations and all these issues that border the governance of these councils.
Yes, you know, when because this is about a particular council, because each finding, because you will have a lot of regulations, a lot of acts, but each and every finding, there are findings that you want to quote from a specific regulation that is talking specifically about that issue. The relationship or the function of the Service Commission, I'm not very clear about that, because the issue here at the time was like the competency of the recruitment, and then even if the Service Commission is doing the recruitment for certain positions, what document are they using to guide themselves to recruit a particular individual for a particular position? So that is where we came across this scheme of service. The scheme of service was detailed because it could have been a very good tool in the recruitment process, but we realized that it was at draft stage. And then then we said, okay, before you talk about details now, this document that is in draft stage, I think it's important, for the stakeholders to know that this document is critical as far as recruitment is concerned, and it needs to be approved so that it can be used as one of the tools, that will help them, and then the auditors also will be making follow-up. Because if the scheme of services, somebody needs to be a chartered accountant, for example, to be a director of finance, and then the council appointed somebody who is not a chartered accountant, the auditors can easily flag that. According to the scheme of service, you need to possess this qualification, but we reviewed that easy. But if that was a draft, I think that was the constraint. I'm not sure if that's your question.
Just to follow up on that, my question particularly is reference to the fact that the Service Commission is responsible for issues of staffing, payment of emoluments to staff, and some other issues as contained, you understand, in what is setting up the commission, that is the act setting up the commission. So I am of the view that the staffing issues of the councils are already taken care of in a particular legislation. So that is my take, whether you people had the opportunity to look at that legislation vis-a-vis with the issues of staffing. Because when you talk about the issue of staffing, you will, of course, understand that they will provide the criteria, the conditions and all that stuff, the requirements, the qualifications. So the Commission could be in a better position to highlight or to provide, a metrics, or it will provide what is required, in terms of staff selection. So that is my question was in that context.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't come across any document or any of that corresponding from the Service Commission, and though this was 2020, it's 2017-2018 audit, but it was conducted in 2020. I don't know how functional was the Service Commission, because our audit will only be limited to the documents that are provided to us. And then here, I think what is key here was you have a scheme of service that specifies all these things, and it's a very good document. So now, what we are trying to flag out, this is a very good document that whether it has been developed by the Service Commission or maybe the Ministry or Council, we are not sure of that, and we don't know we don't know the document that the Service Commission is using to guide themselves in their recruitment. We are not sure of that. But we found this document at the draft stage, and then we think it's a very good document. If approved, it can be a very good guide in the recruitment process. And then again, the Service Commission, even though, because my relationship with them, I have no idea about the Service Commission, to be honest, even though I keep expressing my frustration about the Service Commission, if they can collaborate with the National Audit Office. Because I believe whether they are even seeing our reports or not, I'm not sure. But I would like to meet the Service Commission, if possible, so that we can discuss about some of these recruitment issues at the councils. But I don't have that opportunity to meet with them. I know there are 2 occasions where I was called on the Friday evening and was like, the Service Commission will be meeting tomorrow if you can attend. I said, no, I don't just go and attend meetings like that. You have to write to the Auditor General. Whatever I'm doing it on behalf of the Auditor General. But this will be, after my several requests, like if it is possible to meet the Service Commission so that we can discuss about these staffing issues at the councils. So, but to be honest, just to answer short, I don't have much idea about the document the Service Commission is using in the recruitment, because I can't find them in any of the files. So we are limited when it comes to that.
Did you write formally to request meeting for the Service Commission?
No, I haven't. This was because audit, as part of the audit procedures, it's not only about, but at times you can make inquiry, you can make follow. I haven't, because I was thinking some of these things, they should even request that from me. So at times I don't also want it to be like I'm forcing myself. It's just out of concern, but I'm just like, I don't want it to be like I'm forcing myself. But I've been making, informally, I've been making a lot of follow-up to have that opportunity so that we can look at these things all together.
Thank you so much. Council, back to you.
Thank you. Can I just ask, following that, did you make these follow-ups with the ministry or with the council themselves?
About the scheme of service?
About the issue of the commission, the local government service
to have
commission.
meeting with them?
Yes.
Yes, hence it was informal.
Yes.
It was informal, yes. But I've been making these. I have been making these follow up with the councils. Even when the new auditor general, with the former auditor general, I've been making effort, and even with the new auditor general too. I just asked him if he can also step in and then make that follow up with the ministry, so that at least, because we realize that there are a lot of abnormality when it comes to the recruitment process, especially at certain positions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Permit me to seek clarity on this thing about scheme of service. Is it a unified scheme of service that you're talking about that should emanate from the commission, or is it a scheme of service that has to come from the local government itself?
It's the local government itself.
The local, okay.
Yeah, it's the local government itself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you can proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Traore, let me refer you to paragraph 2.7 on the areas of rates and taxes. So you have stated that you noted from your review a reported balance of 2,457,848 being areas of rates and taxes as of December 31st, 2018. But then you went on to to state further issues. Can you elaborate on those?
Yes. These are the areas of rates and taxes according to their budget. The rates and taxes that's supposed to be collected for that period, and then review revealed that 2,457,848 were still in areas not collected. And then we are like, the tax at 31st December. However, there was no documentary evidence to confirm the assessment criteria used in determining the rates charged for. Because if you said we expecting to collect 4 million, for example, auditors, because it need to be at least the process. How do you determine that you are expected to collect 4 million? So we report this, but again, we said we are not sure the criteria used, because rates and taxes is not just there, line there, you just have to go and collect it. You have to, go and then collection methods or whatever, what method, and then how did they come with that figure? I think that is what we are trying to bring out. They said there is areas of 2,457,000 at the end of 2018, but what criteria? We are not provided with the criteria used in determining the rates and taxes that they're supposed to collect for that period. So that was the challenge, but there was no management response to this query.
So you've audited other councils, and you usually, well, I'm assuming that you have seen the scale of fees or whatever it's called for the councils that would indicate, like for license fees, what they're charging for different establishments within the area. And maybe for some councils, they might have a role which would have the properties within their area and how much they charge. So you're saying that is what you could not find for Basse for that period?
Yes, because you know, each and every council at the beginning of the year, you have to prepare your budget.
Yes.
Budget is not only the expenditure, but even the revenue that you are expected to receive. The revenue that you are expected to receive for 2018, for example. Because, and then that revenue, I think the forecast will be based on the number of properties, the number of raids, the number of these things. So that will give you, the amount that we are expected to collect. Then at the end of the year, if you said, this is what I'm supposed to collect, but this is the areas that I'm not able to collect. So for us, we are saying, okay, that's fine. But how do you determine? That evidence is what was not provided to us. Because you haven't shown us any property register, you haven't shown us, I'm not sure if you even know the number of compounds or the number of subs or the number of this in that locality. Then how do you determine that this is the amount that I'm expected to collect? I think that's the substance of the query here.
Thank you. I refer you to 2.9.1. Actually, on 2.8
Okay.
and 2.9.1,
Okay.
which deal with postings, financial issues, posting in ranges. And you have noted that from your review of the collector's cash books, there's a pervasive practice of posting GTRs in ranges. You have found numerous misstatements with such postings in the form of underreporting of collections. I believe that's actually linked to 2.10. But first of all, I think you may have told us, but tell us again, what are GTRs?
GTRs mean general triplicate receipt books. That's the receipt book the revenue collectors use to collect taxes or whatever in the markets and other subs. Yeah.
Okay.
General triplicate receipt books.
Okay. So can you elaborate on the issue of the fact that you found a pervasive practice of posting GTRs in ranges, and that it has resulted in several misstatements?
This 2.8, right?
2.9.1.
Okay, 2.9.1. Yes, posted in ranges. We noted from our review of collectors' cash book of a pervasive practice of posting GTRs in ranges. We have found numerous misstatements with such postings in form under reporting of collection. Yeah, what we're trying to explain here is like the receipt book. When I collect rate from this one, because receipt books are serially numbered. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then these receipt books, if you collect, the collectors also need to enter these receipt books. The amount collected, you have to enter it into a cash book, and then that cash book has a number. It has to say receipt book number 1. You enter that one in the cash book. The amount collected, you just enter and the date. But what happened was, like, you will see a collector, for example, a receipt book number 1 to 30. Instead of recording them clearly in the cash book, receipt book number 1, 500, the date collected, that will make review very easy. But instead, they will do receipt book date, this date, 22nd March 2023, receipt book 1 to 30, $5,000. So we like, it's not clear. And then when the auditors want to trace these receipt book individually, and they realize that there are a lot of shortages. So that's what we are trying to bring out here. Instead of doing that one, just record them one by one. Receipt date 38 March, receipt book 001, the amount collected, it will be clear, so that it will be easier. If any receipt book that there is a shortage, the auditors will be able to trace that particular receipt book. This is the amount collected, but the amount recorded is short. Where is the money? But instead of doing that, they will just want to this and just put everything together and then write a particular amount, which makes it difficult and is not a best practice. So that's why we are trying to bring it. And then for them, they said the management will make sure that collectors will make serial entries in the cash book, and they say collector has been warned to comply or disciplinary measure will be taken against them. And the auditor's further comment is saying we have not been provided with evidence of warning to collectors regarding the above. However, we'll verify this in our subsequent engagement.
Okay.
Council, may I ask?
Sure.
Yes. These several misrepresentations in these books, is it a recurrent issue in the 2019 findings?
This was 2017, 2018, but I know similar things are still happening in the 2019. Similar issues, are still happening.
Council, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm just trying to see if I can see any similar thing in the 2019 report.
Okay, yeah.
But let me refer you to paragraph 2.10.
Okay.
About payment from collection. You have indicated that you note on several or in numerous instances that payments are made directly from collections before being lodged. The collectors involved in this practice range from senior to even junior collectors. The junior collectors reported that they have been authorized by management, principally Director of Finance, to either incur or hand over part of the collections. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, this is payment from collection because the best practice, and then in fact not only best, but according to the financial regulations, any revenue collected should be banked before you spend it. But the councils at the time, the practice was revenue collectors will go and collect the money. Instead of taking it to the bank, they will use that money to be spending it. And then if you make follow, they will say like, I've been instructed by the Director of Finance or the CEO or whatever, to make payments from this money collected. This is what we have flagged, is against the financial regulation, and then it's not a best practice. And then their response was the management has instructed the Director of Finance to stop collectors doing payment from the revenue collected. And then our auditors further comment, we are not provided with any evidence of the instruction given to the Director of Finance or the establishment of the petty cash system. We will make follow-up in this. So our recommendation was like, we can't say council cannot be holding physical money, but that's why you have the petty cash system. If you need certain, transactions, you can have a petty cash and then use those money to, to sort out those immediate transactions, unforeseen transactions. But any huge payment, money should be in the bank. You should raise a payment back and follow the formal payment procedures and then draw a check and do the withdrawal. Rather than collectors come with the money, you just use the money without banking it. So they said they've warned the Director of Finance, but as auditors it's evidence-based. If you just tell me, yes, we have warned or instructed the Director of Finance to stop, we don't see any evidence of that warning.
Okay. So in this instance where the collectors have said that they've been authorized to do this by the Director of Finance, would you usually check with the Director of Finance that what they're saying is correct?
Yes, it's the practice, because this response, even if you look at the response, the response is from the management, and they say the management has instructed the Director of Finance to stop collecting this. So meaning, because the Director of Finance is part of the management, so meaning yes, they've agreed.
Okay.
But it's happening. It was a norm at the council at the time.
Okay.
Yes, Council. Before you proceed, you were saying that. The collection by the collectors using the money without banking it was the practice then. So it is now your evidence that the councils are not into that practice anymore. Is that your evidence?
No, I said was the practice by them because I'm referring to 2017, 2018. So that's why I say was the practice by them. I know it is still a practice. Normally, I don't want to answer questions without referring myself to my report, but I know it is for sure. I'm certain this because I'm confident it is still happening. Though it has reduced, but it is still happening. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paragraph 2.11 deals with suppression of collections. And you note that there are discrepancies amounting to $60,355 with collections in respect of certain collectors. The amount collected and the amounts lodged and receipted were found to be different. And there's a table setting out the collectors and the amounts and the dates. Now, some of these dates are clearly outside of our scope, but can you just tell us about the implication of the suppression of collections?
Yes, these are the collect, because it all went down to that. You go and then you collect. You use the receipt book to collect. You collect 5,000 for a day, and then in the cash book where you should report the amount collected, and then you will see them recording 4,000. You collected 5,000. The receipt book given to you, you collected 5,000. But when you are recording in your cash book, because the cash book is that is where you record the money collected, and the receipt number you record 4,000 in the cash book. So some of these things, even in the amount, somebody might say, oh, but 60,000 is small. But there are certain findings in audit. They are material by nature. You don't look at the amount, but you look at the practice. So this has been happening, at the councils. And then our recommendation was management should ensure that the suppressed amount in question be recovered and evidence provided for our audit verification. Because you are suppressing revenue. You collect 5,000, you recorded 4,000, the 1,000. So these are things that will keep on a daily basis, different cashiers doing that one, and this is just on sample basis. And then the management response was, the management will ensure that the suppressed amount in question are paid, recovered, and evidence will be provided. And they said monitoring and supervision of collectors' book will be a continuous process to avoid the reoccurrence. Warning letter was issued to the collectors. Auditors further comment, we are not provided with evidence of the recoveries, and the warning letters referred to in the response, we will verify this in our subsequent audit. This was 2017, 2018, but it was conducted in 2020.
So was anything found in 2019?
If you look at the 2019 report, maybe there is a portion for prior year matters, follow up on prior year matters. If it was not solved, it will be captured in the 2019 report. Prior year matters.
Council, you can proceed.
Thank you. There's a similar issue in paragraph 2.12, which is unaccounted tickets and revenue earning books. Please tell us more.
Yes, these revenue earning books, we noted an amount of 25,000 were not accounted for during the period under review. That means this serial number, amount 5,000, the collector's name, if you look at the table, the other one, they were not submitted. You know that, okay, receipt book has been given to Mr. So-and-so, but during the audits, we can't see that the copy of that receipt book, so we don't know. It's unaccounted. It has been written to you, but we don't. The money collected from that, whether it has been used or not, we don't know. It has not been submitted to us, and then that's what has been happening for the first three. And then the other one is to collect rates, the amount not determined, and then remark the GTR has been torn off the book. It's like they just tore off the book. Auditors cannot read the figures there. And then the other one, the two of them are like that, and the other one was supplied to the collector but not accounted for in his cash book. He collected but doesn't record it. So these are unaccounted. We don't know the amount collected. We don't know whether it has been banked because there is no record. So that's why we said unaccounted. And their response, And their response was, the management will ensure that revenue booked in question are properly accounted for and evidence will be produced for audit verification. For your information, Mr. So-and-so GTR number has been recovered. And then the auditors were like, there is no evidence provided to us to confirm the recovery of the book in question. We will confirm these in the upcoming audit. So maybe if you go to the follow-up, if it has been regularized, auditors will say implemented also.
Thank you. 2.1.3, on the expenses not acknowledged, you have stated that it came to your attention that the below listed collectors have made a number of payments out of the collections, but which have not been acknowledged by the receiving cashier. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, during the review of the sample of collectors, it came to our attention that the below listed collectors have made a number of payments out of the collections, but which have not been acknowledged by the receiving cashier. The table below gives the details. The voucher being payment of 2 night allowance, 1,300, and then the collector, because like you made payment, you are a collector, you just collect 5,000. And then we asked, where is this 5,000 collected? He said, I have paid GNPC this 5,000. I just collect the money and then I use it to make a payment. But the person you've paid, there is no evidence that you've actually paid this. There is no signature. There is no evidence that that person has been paid. These are internal control weaknesses, and then we just like reform of transport fare. These are control weaknesses and they are serious. They've reduced drastically now, I can tell you that. I can just, if you have councils where they even pay their own salary. You go to the market, you collect 500, they say keep it. You go to the market, this happens in the Lumos most of the time. You collect another 1,000, they said keep it. At the end of the month, the money you have in, the money you collected, they said, okay, you can use that one as your salary. This has been happening. It's reduced, but still you still have things like that. So these are some of the internal control weaknesses that we are trying to highlight. You'll collect your money, maybe they will say, if you ask them collector, they will say, no, Director of Finance said, let me use it to pay a particular supplier. But there's no evidence that that money has been. And even if it is genuine, but payments has a procedure that need to be followed. They need to be authorized, payment vouchers has to be raised and then approved, but not that everybody can just collect money and go and do the payment on behalf of the council. That's why you have a Director of Finance and his team responsible for that. Even the CEO cannot make payment from without being authorized by the Director of Finance. So that's what we're trying to bring out here. And then their response was, the Chief Executive Officer has acknowledged the said amount, and then the Chief Executive Officer has instructed the Director of Finance to account for the 7,000. But that is just one payment. Maybe that payment was for him. And then no evidence was retrospective provided to us to confirm such instructions.
Thank you. 2.1.4 is assets, the assets register.
Yes.
And this is an issue that we noted came up in 2019 as well. It was not
recording issues,
dealt with.
Yeah.
There were several motorbikes that were purchased. So in 2019, the 2019 report, they had said that it was difficult to maintain an asset register because some of the assets were 30 years old or so. But then in these cases with the motorbikes, I don't believe that they were that old, but you have indicated that there's no asset value, there's no date of purchase, there's purchase of 4 tractors, no date of purchase, no tag numbers, no depreciation value, etc. Can you tell us about this issue?
Yes, and then for their this asset register, because the purpose of the asset register is for you to know the asset that you have in the property of the council. If you buy any asset, the date you purchase that asset, the cost you purchase that asset, the location of that asset, the condition of that asset, all these things need to be captured in the asset register so that at any point in time, the stakeholders will know this is the assets that belongs to the council. But for them, you will see assets. For example, not all assets were recorded in the register. There's completeness. The value, the cost amount it was purchased wasn't known. The actual location of the asset, reference numbers, because all of them need to be marked so that you can know this asset actually belongs to the council. And so for them, this was not happening. Purchase of motorbike for councillors, no asset value. We don't know the amount it was purchased for. No asset, all the motorbikes, bicycles purchased, there was no asset value. And then the management response was, the management has established a register and has been upgraded to the standard required by the manual and will be maintained in an appropriate state at all times to enable them exercise. So that's what they said in 2017, 2018, but in 2019 it was still occurring. Yeah.
And did you get a chance, by any chance, did you get a chance to read through the special report that was prepared by the Internal Audit Department?
Yes, I know it is still part of that.
I believe one of the issues raised was still, that they said they had mobility issues because there's no transportation.
Yeah, it's still an issue, yeah.
Thank you. 2.15, you have stated that there's the payroll establishment register was incomplete. Mm-hmm. What are the risk factors with this?
Yes, the payroll, this is the staff of the council. We realized that you go to their files, there is no appointment letter for some staff, no birth certificate, retirement dates were not known, and we also note a discrepancy between the position and grade on the file and payroll. For example, you see somebody, if you look at the first staff name, was appointed in September 2011, and then remark the different dates between the establishment register and the appointment letter. Establishment register means all the staff, their position, the day they were appointed, their basic salary. That's the establishment register. But if you look at the payroll, the actual database used to pay salaries, there is different. Mm-hmm. And then these things should always be, what is in your establishment register and the payroll should always be the same. But, so we have some names, and the other one without birth certificate and identification number, no date of birth. So these are some of the, abnormalities in the payroll. You see somebody, the appointment date is not there, appointment letter is not there. So as auditors, if we go to, when we look at the payroll, we see, okay, Bakari is being paid $8,000. We go to Bakari's file, no appointment letter. We don't even know your position. Maybe in the payroll we see director, but we go to your file, we can't see your appointment letter. So we don't even know when were you appointed, what is your position, and then we cannot verify how accurate is the payroll transactions. So management responded to say, management has instructed the finance department to urgently review and complete the establishment register payroll with accurate details for the employee. These are still now, it's reduced, but still now they are happening. Any audit, anytime we go back, we will be making follow-up. And then, there is improvement, to be honest, on some of these things. There is improvement.
Because I know you noted that some staff were paid lower than their actual grades as well.
Yes, because that's what I'm just saying. Because you look at, this is what caused it. You look at your file, you are this, So meaning there is no comprehensive payroll system. So at some point, what caused that is discretionary in paying allowance. You will even see two staff, the other one is receiving this allowance. They all live at the same place, the same position. The other one is paid transport of 500, the other one paying transport of 300, for example. And then you ask why this, they can justify. They can justify.
So it is true that during the course of your findings, you found out that because of the lack of comprehensive payroll register, the councils were discretionally paying salaries or allowances as they wish?
For some, it happens. We have that type of scenarios and that is bound to happen because if you don't have any policy in place, let's say transport is for people living at this, and if you don't have those documents, people have the freedom to use their discretion if you are not honest. So this is what has been happening, and then now things like this are happening, but very minimal, and this is more common at the rural councils. I can remember at a time, most of these things will not be, I will not write formally to the ministry, but I will be in the field and immediately I will call somebody at the ministry just to bring these things to their attention, because I'll be like, these are serious issues. And then I will not blame anybody more than the ministry, because you have your inspection unit, you have your whatever, and this has to do with people's emolument, personal emolument. They can be very sensitive. If I am living in the same compound with somebody, and they paying him 500 for transport and they pay me 300, what is the justification? As auditors, we don't see any policy document. So the ministry need to regulate some of these things immediately. It has reduced, you have follow-up, but still, you still have some of these things, but it has reduced, to be honest, drastically.
Thank you. In 2.16, you have noted that the council does not maintain a register for fuel, and that the current administration of fuel procurement is the direct purchase from vendors on a need basis. Most of the procurements were found not to be sufficiently documented. Can you take us through this?
Yes, because fuel register also is part of the requirement that each and every institution should maintain a fuel register. Or fuel can be on a need basis at times, maybe the director of finance, some institution, but the policies should clarify that. If it is part of your entire, every month, maybe 20,000, that's fine. Auditors will just confirm that this is clear, it's part of the policy. If you are a director of finance, you are entitled to 20,000 every month and it's given to you and then you use it. But we don't have anything of that. If it is based on need basis, whoever, if a fuel is purchased, if you are taking fuel 500, it needs to be recorded in the fuel register, the vehicle number, and then although the sample of fuel register has been given to them. But we realize that fuel has just been used and then there is no fuel register, because the fuel register will give the fuel issue, the date, the vehicle that fuel has been issued to. But there was nothing like that. And the current administration of fuel procurement is the direct purchase from the vendors on a need basis. Most of the procurement were found not to be sufficiently documented. Because fuel, you cannot just go and then buy fuel, but there should be a procurement process when it comes to the supply of fuel. But that has not been happening. And then they said management has established a fuel register and controlled by the procurement officer. They said that was the issue. And then auditors further comment, the evidence of the establishment of fuel register has not been provided for us at that time.
In 2.17, you've indicated that the council did not maintain a petty cash system.
Yeah.
Please take us through that.
Yes, because this came as a result of the collectors collecting money and then using it to pay. That's why we recommend, because this is from the financial regulation, you can maintain a petty cash system so that small payments, emergency payments can be used from the petty cash, and then at the end of the month you retire the unspent and then you reimburse it. That's just to minimize the act of handling large cash in the office and then spending it without being banked. And then they are like, they will take up that responsibility, but still now they maintain petty cash, but councils are still making money payment from the money collected. There is improvement, but it's still happening.
And you have raised payment voucher queries in the further 2.18. Actually, there's several financial issues under 2.18,
Yes.
And it goes to 2.18.4, I believe.
Yes, these are payments not acknowledged. Yeah, these are the payment process. They're just trying to identify some of the weaknesses in the payment processes. Let's say payment without adequate supporting document, because if you are making payment from the sample of vouchers, the following payments were found not to be adequately documented, but these were all 2017, the first part of 2017.
Yes, I just see that.
They are all part of the first part of 2017. Yes.
But can you tell us the implications without going into
and then not acknowledge. Yeah, because
yes.
Because what happened was this is still happening though. But it's still happening. You have to pay somebody. Maybe the person is traveling. All what we see is just the payment voucher and the check. But the supporting document to say what is this payment all about is not there. That's what we mean by without supporting document. The traveling. What is the purpose of the travel? The invitations for that, the proposal. So you don't see anything. You just say, payment of night allowance, and then you don't know what that night allowance is all about. And then you even see payments to fuel a particular car, and all what you see maybe is just BJL or whatever. And then you said, is this a staff of the council? They said it's not a staff of the council, but these things has reduced drastically. These things are what I'm trying to say. By then, I think the fuel or some of these payments will be used to pay individuals who has no connection with the council. So these are some of the things that we have flagged in the early part in the 2017 reports. Yeah. So gradually now we just make sure that I think these are things that cannot continue. So gradually things like that reduce a bit. Yeah.
Come in here. In your reconciliation of the income and expenditure, were you able to have the opportunity to peruse their bank transactions?
Are you talking specifically about a particular finding? Or?
Yes, what I mean is, we are talking about the Basse Area Council. I said when you were doing the reconciliation between the income they have and the expenditures they have done, were you able to peruse their banking transactions by getting their bank statements in order to find out, some of the transactions that they have done?
Yeah, because auditors, if you prepare your income and expenditure statement, there must be documents or source documents that you use to prepare your income and expenditure statement. Then auditors will request for some of those, source documents, those figures. How do you arrive at those figures? The payments also, they will make follow-up. They will request for the bank statement. So, auditors does that during the audit.
Yes, in this circumstance, were you able to get the statements covering this period from their banks?
This period is 2017-2018, and they have not prepared any income and expenditure statement for that period.
So I am getting you correctly. Are you saying that they did not avail to you bank statements during that period? No, what I
mean, your question is,
yes.
Now review of the income statement, income and expenditure statement. So I'm saying this period that we are discussing, there was no income and expenditure statement prepared. We were only looking at their transactions, because there is no income and expenditure. But we wouldn't say, we are not going to audit because there is no income and expenditure statement. But we look at the internal control weaknesses that are found. So if you look at the bank transaction, all these things are because bank transaction issues will come under financial weaknesses happening at the council. So if you look at these, maybe the bank statement issue might not come. I know the bank reconciliation issues were problems, because that is more of the reason why they cannot even prepare a financial statement, income and expenditure statement. So we might not say, you might not see specifically bank statement not provided or not submitted, but maybe for that period there might be issues that are more significant, that are more of high risk than that bank statement issues, and that's what we are just bringing it out. Because if you look at this payment criteria, the lead counsel, payment without adequate supporting documents, these were financial issues. at that period, and then you have payment not acknowledged or supported by receipts, salary for the development officer, and then all. But there is no receipt. You cannot see any supporting document to support these things. And then you have single source procurement. Single source procurement. This was an inappropriate payment method. So banks reconciliations were not being performed. So that means there is no bank statement. They don't submit all the bank statement for the period.
So I just want to be clear whether it is found in your evidence that they were not paying these rates and taxes into their various banks.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the deposit.
Yes, the deposits.
Oh, okay. There were some banks there, but if you look at the finding, if people are collecting money and then spending it without banking it, so now that obviously that is going to affect your even the cash flow or whatever. So for us now, other transactions, if the payment is done, we confirm that, but it will be very minimal because most of the payments are through cash. They receive cash and they spend from that cash. It's like what you are collecting, you just spend it. So very little amount, has been deposited at the bank. So that's why the bank amount by then is not very material. It's not of high risk because most of the money collected have been spent. Yeah.
Thank you, Council. You can proceed.
Thank you. You started talking about the single source procurement issue in 2.18.4. 2.18.4. I know that there are two issues raised in the table. One of them is 2017 and the other one is 2018. Okay. And you've noted that payments amounting to 66,000 have been made and they do not comply with GPPA requirements of triple sourcing. So can you please elaborate on that issue?
2.18.4, right?
Yes, single source procurements.
Let me just get it. 2.18. Okay, the other one is 3rd October being payment of house items for 32,000.
Yes.
Yes. This one is like payment single source procurement. We noted from tests that payment amounting to 66,000 have been made which did not comply. Because according to the GPPA, by then any payment more than 10,000, by then you need to get three quotations from GPPA so that you can go in for the, this is just to make sure that you get value for money. And then there is that, fair trading, because so that a particular vendor or whatever will not be favored. But in this case, we think that they purchased these house items for about 32,000, and then there is no evidence that they collected the three quotations. So that's what we've just reported.
And 2.18.5 deals with inappropriate payments. The vouchers?
Yes.
The details in the table we can't deal with, but can you talk us through the actual issue and the implication?
Yes, this was the early part of 2017. What happened was we noted during our examination of a sample of vouchers that payments have been made for activities which did not relate to the council. In other instances, payments have been made which did not have sufficient authorization. So these particular payments were, the other one was the travel clearance approved for the team from the ministry did not include, somebody was paid per diem, but if you look at the list from the ministry, his name was not there. And then the other one being payment of per diem, a rate of 1,000 was paid to the recipient based on discretion rather than approved rate. So these were the two issues in that table. The other one, they paid them per diem, but his name is not on the list, but was paid. And the other one, they just paid, they said per diem payment, 1,000, and then there was no rate of that 1,000 anywhere. So we believe it might just be a discretion.
Have you found that these are issues that have reduced, or
yes, yes,
the same?
things like this has reduced now. Things like this has reduced. This was in March 2017 and February 2017.
Now, in the 2019 report, so in 2017-2018, you had stated that there's no basis for the collection of rates, amongst other things.
Say that again?
You had said that there was no basis in 2017 and 2018.
Yes, we just had the basis used in determining the rates to be collected, and then what you said areas of this. What basis do you use to come up with that figure?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what was. Yeah, that
so
what was.
in 2019, there's an annex to your report.
Okay.
And it's for licensed areas. I believe they had stated that they had areas of a bit over 100,000, and the annex, I believe, is supposed to detail the basis of the areas. At that time, were you provided with perhaps a fee scale for the licenses? Because I note that for the same business type, you have different prices.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a general issue when it comes to this valuation, how they come up with the pricing. A particular business would pay this, a particular this, and this is where I believe there are a lot of subjectivity in it, and then it's like it's difficult for the auditors to even see a unified this thing that the auditors can follow. Okay, those in the greater Banjul or this type of business, this is the actual tariff, this is the actual tariff, or whatever. So it's the valuation. It has to do with the valuation. How do you value and then determine the price? So this is a issue. It's a cross-cutting issue, and then we always flag it, and then still now it is happening. So I don't know specifically whether that is your question or.
Yeah, so my question was really that as at 2019,
yes,
did they have any such scale of fees that they showed to you?
No.
They just provided the...
Yes.
Okay.
So we get, and then the other thing is, at times even the rates and this thing that they are using, especially in the rural council, they will say, I don't know, a particular building, $100 is, or things like that. Because what this thing is just talking about is like some of these things have been there many years ago, and they have not been amended, they have not been, reviewed to capture the current realities, and then they're just using it. So when that happened, if at all there is a rate in 2000 and many years ago, and then they said this should be charged $100 or $200, the collector can go there and then use his discretion. You can say, no, 500, just give me 500, and then maybe just so these are some of the things happening. So it needs a collective decision to make sure that at least there is standardization, and then auditors can use that one during the audit.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, do you know whose responsibility it is to provide those guidelines?
Oh, I think if you look at our recommendation, we will be like, because some of these things will be like the ministry. For us, we will say the ministry, because we feel that I will not know exactly whose responsibility it is to provide those guidelines. Most of the time, we are not even specifically to say the ministry, because we'll say the stakeholder, the council should work with the necessary stakeholders to make sure that these documents are reviewed and then capture the actual reality. But we will copy the ministry because they are the oversight, so that at least they will have a stake in it. So if we will not declare exactly whose responsibility, but we will say the management of the council should, in consultation with the required relevant stakeholders, need to look into this and to come up with a guideline. So, and we will copy the ministry.
Thank you, Chairperson. I believe this would be a convenient point to break for. Oh, I believe Commissioner Joyner has questions.
Thank you very much, Counsel. Mr. Traore, I am bemused of the fact that with all what you have highlighted as problems that faced the BASE, and yet still you are emphatic enough to say your 2019 audit was clean.
Yes.
I'm a bit confused.
Yes, this particular report was 2017-2018, and then 2017-2018, we don't express any opinion on this because no financial statement was prepared for this period. This is 2017, March 2017 to 31st December 2018. So I wasn't, there was no financial statement. So when we get to the National Assembly, because if you bring some of this question, by then there was new administration, change of government and the likes, and then they would like, I'm not aware, this was in my time, then we come to a resolution at the National Assembly that let them start first now from 2019. But this transactions audit will still continue because you still have to identify what are some of the internal control weaknesses at the councils. But the financial statement, because for you to prepare a financial statement, there must be record. If there is no record, you cannot manufacture figures and prepare a financial. We said now, you people took over in mid-2018. So 2019, because this was 2020, 2019, you should have something to start with and prepare a financial statement. Basse Area Council, during this 2019 audit, they made effort because some of the balances that are there, by then they had a new administration, new CEO, and then he worked so hard, to be honest, because I always use him at that time as an example, even at the National Assembly. They appointed somebody from the Ministry of Education as the new CEO from the public sector, and then he worked so hard with his finance director to make sure that at least something is done by working with the audit team. If I say by working with the audit team, they will bring figures and we will verify them, and they were able to build their financial statement for 2019, and then it was a clean opinion. And then I think that period, it was only Basse that has a clean opinion. You know, audit, clean opinion, because audit will give reasonable assurance. It doesn't mean that everything, but you look at the materiality of the misstatements. If they are not pervasive and the material enough to, have an impact on your opinion, you can say, according to our these things, there's nothing material enough for us to say it is not true and fair. That's what happened for 2019. Yeah.
Any more questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Trawale, good morning.
Good morning.
Is it a normal procedure for taxpayers' money to be paid into the financial director's personal account?
No, the fact that personal account, even being taxpayers' money or any other money, finance director, no money should be paid to a personal account of any person. That is why the money, just to say it's no, it's not. No way that can be, yeah. It's not.
But we have seen it in the audit reports of Basse Area Council that monies were paid into the finance director's account, personal account.
Yes, that's true, and that's why action has been taken. The people involved have been arrested, and that is it. So it should not have happened. That's why that action has been taken.
Any further questions? Okay. I believe that it is a convenient point to break for tea break, and then we will come back after 30 minutes. So we will be back here by 12:25.